Hi everybody, welcome to Frontier Patriot. Today we're doing another Chew and Chat with Justine and Ron, and today we have two different kinds of Queen's cakes.
Yes.
What are Queen's cakes?
Well, firstly, this one's from 1830, possibly 1828. I'll talk about that later. And this one's from 1804, but Queen's cakes were popular for about 150 years. And there isn't exactly one recipe that fits all for Queen's cake. By modern definition, these would be muffins, really thin muffins. But back then, a Queen's cake was any kind of cake that was cooked in a little mold or a tin mold or a little pan, like a muffin would be, and it always had some kind of fruit flavor. Always did. So this has actual real fruit, and this just has lemon extract, which they did have back then. So it's fruit flavored, it's just a different kind of experience, because this has whole fruit and this doesn't.
Now this has currants in it.
That has dried currants in it.
And currants are like tiny raisins.
Yep, basically like tiny raisins. Some people say they taste bitter. I don't see it. It don't taste bitter at all to me.
They're sweet. I put them in my oatmeal, I put them in my cereal.
Yeah, tastes like raisins. They're just smaller, less juicy, less plump raisins. And both of them have the same spices otherwise. Nutmeg, cinnamon, mace. This one has a little bit of booze in it.
Brandy, right?
Yeah, brandy and wine mixed together. But other than that, they're roughly the same. So that's what a Queen's cake is. Just a little muffin that's fruit flavored.
Well, I'm ready to try them. I have not tried these yet. I've been staring at them for the last hour, but I haven't tried it yet.
We're going to decide which one tastes better. 1804, 1830. And the first Queen's cake recipes I've seen were from the early 18th century. So this dessert was popular for about 150 years. It wasn't until the mid-19th century, around the Civil War, that it started to fall out of favor.
Probably because we don't have royalty here in America, maybe? Or was this everywhere that it kind of fell out of favor?
No, it was everywhere, but I've heard in the Americas sometimes they were called something other than Queen's cake.
Muffin?
No,
oh.
But I don't remember what they were called, like patriotic cakes or something. I'm serious, it had some other patriotic name to it, because in America we don't have royals, but so...
Soaring Eagle patriotic cake.
Soaring Eagle
I like that.
cakes.
I like that.
Okay, Ron, how about you try that?
Okay, I'm gonna go with the star.
This.
Just go for it?
Yep.
Alright, here we go. Okay. So the top layer, it's a little crunchy, but it's nice and soft on the inside.
Yep.
It's moist. And a little raisin. Little currant. That's good.
They're basically muffins by today's standard. The reason I think that the Queen's cakes fell out of favor, eventually if a food is 150 years old, it's just going to fall out of favor anyway. People are like, oh, my grandpa made that, so I don't want that.
It's what old farts eat.
Yeah, but also vanilla extract started to become more popular. These don't have vanilla extract in it. So by the end of the 19th century, instead people would eat things more like blueberry muffins instead of currant muffins.
Blueberry's my favorite.
I make some good blueberry muffins.
I'd like to try them.
It'll happen. I use fresh blueberries.
Okay, you try one of them.
Okay.
Tell me how you like it.
So these have no fruit in them, but it still has a fruit flavor because of the lemon extract that's in it. Lemon essence. I like it. It has a very warm flavor because there's a good amount of cinnamon and nutmeg and mace in it. But there's just a tiniest little hint of citrus, and you could add more if you want to.
I'm not gonna lie, they look like little cornbread cakes.
They do. They look like they wouldn't be sweet. They just look like cornbread. But they're sweet. I like these ones. I've already had these ones. I actually think I like these more.
Well, let me try one of them. Okay, squishy.
Squishy. Passes the squish test. It's like a creaky old door.
Not bad.
What is that supposed to mean? Not bad.
Okay. I like the texture of these ones better with the, and I like the current little bites of currant. But I like the taste of this one better. Because this one has, you said it has the lemon, it has nutmeg and cinnamon in it. And mace.
Well, this has nutmeg, cinnamon, and mace in it too.
Oh,
this
well, really
has alcohol in it.
Maybe that's what it is. I mean,
this has it's just a little tiny bit.
These and
hey, those are my favorite. And to drink, we have milk.
Yeah.
To go with it. I want some milk, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is the one day out of the year I'm
allowed to drink
milk.
Because Ron is he gets
lactose top.
Yeah, he gets the wins.
But I just don't care.
Sometimes the wins.
I walk away. It doesn't bother me. It bothers everybody else.
He don't care. Yeah, of course he don't care. What about people around him?
Okay. Out of 10, I'm giving this a 7, and this is getting a 9.
Wow.
Now, I guess you could dust these with some cinnamon or some sugar, or you could sprinkle granulated sugar on it, or you could even ice them if you wanted to. But it doesn't need it because this one at least is sweet enough. This one you could put frosting. I think it could use a little more sweetening. You
know, it's funny that you say that because actually this one, at the very end of the receipt, it recommends to put icing on it. This one doesn't say anything about that. You can if you want. You can put powdered sugar on it. But this one especially says it recommends that you put icing on it. I did not do that because ain't nobody got time for that. It's already hard enough to bake in an over fire. But I have made in a cake video in the past where I made 3 cakes and I showed you guys how to make period correct icing. So if you want to, you can make some and put it on here. But just so you know, it's very hard to make icing by hand. Very hard.
Yeah, it hurts your wrist.
You basically beat the egg whites and the sugar for about an hour.
Oh, it don't take an hour.
Yeah, it takes an hour.
It's about 15 minutes.
No, it doesn't.
High speed whipping.
Well, I guess that's why we keep men in the kitchen sometimes.
You should try dunking these. It's really good.
That sounds like a good idea.
It's very good.
Mmm.
And the longer the better.
That works.
The other day, Justine made cornbread. And I did something she'd never seen me do before. I put cornbread in my glass and then I pour milk in it. And that's how I like to eat my cornbread. I will eat it with butter on a plate, but I call it a poor man's dessert. I prefer to put it in a mug and fill it up with ice cold milk. It's just delicious that way.
Yeah, I've never seen anyone who likes soggy cornbread. But some people like it.
Oh, one of them people.
So, poor man's cake, now that you mentioned that, corn is like, for you, cornbread in a bowl of milk. For me, a poor man's cake, besides the obvious, which is just taking a piece of bread and putting jam on it, boom, you got cake, right? Is taking cornbread, cutting it in half, and then putting jelly in there or honey in there, and then smacking that back down, and boom, you got poor man's cake.
That sounds good too.
I love my cornbread sweet. I add honey to my cornbread. So anyway, who wins? 1830, 1804.
That was good. 1830.
1830 wins, guys!
Sorry, but yeah. I gotta go with what's tasting the best.
Yep. And I've seen a recipe very similar to this one mentioned several times throughout the 18th century. So this is actually a very old recipe that was just repeated over and over again, even up till the early 19th century. This one I don't think is quite that old. I think this one was pretty new as far as the early 19th century goes. It's the new and improved way of gaining weight. And it tastes good.
There's a lot of butter in these.
Yeah. So this book was published in 1830, but it started being written in 1828. So technically this recipe is from 1828, but the book was published in 1830.
Okay. I'll give these the benefit of the doubt. I'll try them with the milk and see if it's any better.
I'm just gonna drink milk now.
It's about the same. Don't get me wrong, these are good. Those are great.
Yeah. Yep, these are great. These are very, very good. And they're not very sweet.
No, they're not overly sweet. It's just just the right amount.
Just
of sweetness.
right.
Just like you.
Oh.
Just the right amount of sweetness.
Oh. I'm not so sweet. I give you diabetes.
Right.
Oh.
Not so sweet. Makes your teeth rot.
Yeah. Oh. So check this out, guys.
It's our new gun.
This
It
is
looks like a gun, doesn't it?
This is our new culinary gun. Now, don't ask me where in the world we got this from because someone just mailed this to us.
About a year ago. Wasn't it?
No, it wasn't a year ago. It was maybe
Christmas?
4 months ago. Yeah, it was
Okay.
like 4 months ago. We got this in the mail. So we have on our about sections of our channels, Ron's and my channel, Early American, we have a mailing address where you guys can send us letters, send us whatever random stuff you have and you want to send us. And so someone mailed us this. And they also mailed with it a jar of whole nutmegs. We put the two and two together and we thought, is this a fishing line? What is this?
Hey, it looks like a fishing rod.
Do we use the nutmeg as bait for the fish? I don't understand. What we figured out, it's a nutmeg grater. It's the coolest nutmeg grater I've ever seen in my life. It looks like an old pistol.
Even John Townsend would be jealous of this one.
Yeah, Townsend, check this out.
Yeah, he loves nutmeg, so
Hey, Townsend, come over to our cabin. You can have cake, and we'll grate you some nutmeg.
That's right.
That's our bribe.
Nutmeg and cake. What if they have nutmeg cakes?
Nutmeg cakes?
Yeah.
Well, this is cake that has a lot of nutmeg.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'll do research about that. I think I know what he's talking about. Okay, so what you do is this little hole up here, you just take a nutmeg, and this is one that's kind of half used already. It's the one we used for this. But you just plop it down there. You have to kind of press it down with your thumb, and then you just pull in the line.
And then you tilt
And
it
then
forward
nutmeg is coming out, so I don't know what to do with it.
It kind of leaks a little. Let me see. So you grind it, and then it.
Oh my gosh, that one cake is going to be unedible now.
That one's for.
That one's for Townsend.
Yeah, that one's for Townsend.
Yeah, when he comes and visits us. But it works really
good.
well.
I can't get it out of there, but there's not much of it left. It does grate it really well.
It grates it quick.
That's probably a whole teaspoon of nutmeg.
Hey, give me my nutmeg. Okay, so inside of this thing, I can look into this little window. There's a grater.
Yeah.
There's a round-shaped grater, and all that happens when you twist this is it makes the grater turn. And so when you press the nutmeg against this sharp grater, it's just forcing it to go against the grater.
And it grates it.
And it grates it.
That's really neat.
Yeah, this is really, really cool.
And that is a real deal antique. I don't believe that's a reproduction.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I believe that thing's probably, 150 years old.
Whoa, really?
Just judging by the patina and the way it's made and put together and the little nails in it and stuff. It doesn't look like a 1970s reproduction. That looks like the real deal.
Well, even if it isn't, I still love this thing. It works really, really good. So that's our newest thing that we're in love with.
Yeah.
Okay, back to milk.
I got a fun fact I came across about cakes.
Yep, since we're talking about cakes.
Yes, I'm talking about cakes. So I came across that in 1710 is whenever the first wedding cake with the tiers came about. A baker, he seen a steeple outside and he had to make a wedding cake for his daughter, and that's what started. He modeled it after the steeple.
1710.
1710.
So that's the first cake that has layers with icing in between.
And wedding cakes used to be called bride cakes. They used to call them that. Same with like birthday cakes, they were called great cakes. I was reading that Martha Washington made General Washington in 1778 a great cake for his birthday, and it consisted of 40 eggs and like 5 pounds of butter, and I forget how many pounds of flour, but that was a big cake.
Don't get any ideas now.
Well, you said you even told me they had some crazy, ginormous cakes back then.
Yep, the very, very wealthy had extraordinarily huge cakes. Now, obviously, it wasn't something you'd have every day. It would have been for a wedding or a huge ball. or sometimes for Christmas. But I've heard and even seen some really old black and white photos, even from the Victorian period, a little later, of like these massive, grotesque, scary looking cakes. I mean 55, 70 pound cakes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. But for the average man, this was your cake. It's not what we would call a cake today. You would call it
a muffin.
A very flat, like a muffin that someone sat on. Or a muffin on a diet.
Or a fluffy cookie. But
the reason why this isn't super, super big, like today's muffins are, is because of something called a leavening agent. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the leavening agents that we take for granted today have not been invented yet in this time period. So Ron, what do you know about that?
So I have a few notes here. I did some research on leavening. So we're all familiar with egg whites. It makes things light and fluffy. Mm-hmm. And so does whipping cream.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
It also makes things light and fluffy. Mm-hmm. So yeast is another one. Sourdough. Mm-hmm. You can... so baking soda. That did not exist in our time period. That's from about the 1840s-ish is when baking soda came into play. And baking soda is sodium bicarbonate. And it was also called saleratus.
Saleratus?
Saleratus was the precursor name for baking soda, and then they renamed it to baking soda.
I can see why they changed it. It sounds like an ancient Greek scholar. Saleratus says.
And then the next most popular one that we know today is baking powder. It used to be called yeast powder, but then it was changed to baking powder. That came out in the 1850s to 1860s, and that is sodium bicarbonate with tartar, like cream of tartar.
Oh.
And cream of tartar used to be called oil of tartar, and it was acidic, is what it is. And it's acidic powder, and it's a byproduct of winemaking. And winemaking's been around for a long time, so they've had a form of cream of tartar for over 1,000 years. But from what we know as cream of tartar, it's been made that way since the 1760s. And substitutes for cream of tartar would be like you can add lemon juice or vinegar, because those are also acidic, and cream of tartar is acidic.
So cream of tartar, which every time I say that word I feel like I'm French. Tartar.
I think of tartar sauce.
So can I have some tartar? So it's supposed to help egg whites, right?
Right.
And egg whites in baking helps to fluff out your food, and that's what leavening agents are. It's something you put in your baked good, in your batter, to help the bread or the cake or the muffin to rise.
From this to... Well, I'll just do it. This!
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, not for the children!
Alright.
No, that's protein that does that.
So, in our time period, we have potash and we have pearl ash. And we also have egg whites and whipping cream, if we want to use that. Or sourdough or yeast. So potash is ashes. They run water through the ashes, and so you get a milky substance, and you boil it down. And it's also the same way you make soap. The only difference is soap, you put the lard into it, and then any perfume that you want to, or salt if you want it to set up hard and firm.
Yeah.
But it sounds kind of scary. Why would I want to eat that?
Yeah, so potash is not something that you can find in any grocery store today. At least it will not be called potash.
You have to make it yourself.
Or pearl ash.
Get some ashes and a bucket of water and...
Yeah. Is that potassium carbonate?
Let's see. Potash. It is potassium bicarbonate.
Bicarbonate. Okay, potassium bicarbonate, technically.
Now, to get pearl ash, you have to make potash first. So you make the potash, and then you take that, after all the water has evaporated off of it, you stick it in a kiln and you cook it down. And then that gives you potash, potassium carbonate, instead of bicarbonate.
And then you're left with a powder that looks like this.
Yes.
So it looks like any leavening agent that you're used to today. It's just a little bit of powder. Now, there were problems with this, as you can probably imagine.
It tastes horrible for one. It would be bitter.
Yep, so you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, does it have arsenic and mercury in it? Like, no, it did not. The problem with it, and the reason why I fell out of favor, is you have to use just a tiny, tiny bit of it, or it will make your food taste bitter. And that's the problem. Also, it doesn't mix well with any citrus flavors. If you have lemon juice or lemon rind in your baked good, I've seen period receipts that say do not use pearl ash in the recipe because then it'll make it taste extra bitter. So you can see why that was a little frustrating for a lot of cooks, because you had to choose between having a really nice textured cake or having a cake that has a nice flavor.
Mm-hmm.
And then once the baking soda and baking powder were invented, it's like, see ya!
I mean, it just makes it easier. Who wants to whip eggs every time you want to do this? Or who wants to wait for sourdough to rise, or or put yeast in it? So, fun fact about potash and pearl ash, they've been around since the 1300s. It's not new technology.
It's the 14th century, guys.
But the cool part about it is, in 1790, that is the first U.S. patent that was put in for like how to make potash and pearl ash. It's literally number 1. As you can see in this photo here that I'm putting on the screen, it says number 1. It's even signed by George Washington, President George Washington.
Back when presidents signed all the patents?
Yes.
That don't happen anymore.
That's pretty cool. And so these things are made at a place called an ashery. An ashery is a facility where they burn wood and they filter water through the ash, and they do all the cooking processes to get your potash or your pearl ash.
So the guy who patented it in the U.S. must have come up with a new way of making it.
I think so.
Because
he commercialized it.
Yeah, because it had been around for a really long time before that, but when you make an invention, if you make it and it's slightly different than something very similar, it's technically still a new invention and you can patent it.
Because potash is not just for cooking, it's for cleaning. You can use it to clean stuff. And like I said, it helps make soap because it has lye in it.
Baking soda!
Yeah.
You can do that with baking soda.
I might be wrong on this, but you think soap suds up? It suds up because of the lye. So does it cause this to make suds and make it airy? Like bubbles inside of this? You know what I'm saying? Little air pocket bubbles?
Wait, I'm trying to think. I know that in modern soaps, it's sodium lauryl sulfate or something like that that causes things to bubble up. I'm not sure. Is that lye?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I'm not a soap expert.
Yeah, I'm not sure, guys.
I only shower once a month because I'm a filthy backwoods frontierman, which is a myth. People showered at least once a week.
Well, they didn't shower.
Not shower, but they bathed at least once a week.
Yes. Well, okay, so that's a totally off different subject. They would wash their armpits, their groin, their face, their hands, their arms every single morning
butt.
And every single night.
And their butt.
They would do it in a wash stand. Yes, and the butt.
Yeah, she said butt.
She said butt. In their wash stand. They would give themselves a full bath from head to toe, anywhere from once a week to once every fortnight. It was recommended.
And they might have used potash. They definitely used soap made that way from lye.
Maybe. It was kind of expensive though, so you'd be rich to do that. Okay, so another way that they would make food rise back then is with egg whites. They would whisk the egg whites until they were frothy and literally white, because we know egg whites when they come out of the egg are clear, like a clear mucus. But when you froth them for at least 10 to 15 minutes, it turns into white suds.
Almost like a meringue. You end up getting meringue out of it.
Yeah.
If you go farther with it.
Yeah, and it's all the oxygen bubbles inside of it that are going to help your baked good to stand afloat as it bakes.
Yeah.
And people still do that today when they bake.
And baking powder is baking soda and cream of tartar combined with it.
With egg whites?
No, baking powder. It came after baking soda.
Yeah.
And all baking powder basically is the baking soda and cream of tartar mixed together already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Science.
So another way that back in our time that they would make food raise is with yeast.
Yeah.
So I've seen some cakes that call for yeast, but it wasn't as common as you'd think, because the problem with adding yeast to cakes is it can make really big air pockets inside of the cake. With bread, we don't really care about that, but with a cake, it's a little weird.
Yeah, you don't want your cake to fall apart.
Yeah, you don't want a cake that has big bubbles inside of it. And then another way that they got around that back then is they would cook cakes like this, very thin. And that's how most people, just everyday working class your mom would make you a cake and it would look like this. So, and even thinner than that. You read through these 200-year-old receipt books and it'll say, for example, how to make a buckwheat cake. And you think, oh, buckwheat cake, because it's going to be this thick. And it's actually, by modern standards, it's a pancake. It's thinner than this.
It's almost like a crepe.
Yeah, it's almost like a crepe. But that's how they would get around the fact there was no leavening agents back then. So you had to have a very skilled chef, and the chef times 10, you'd have to have a whole army of people, and it would only be for special occasions to actually make you a really big cake.
Another one we didn't mention is barm, which is kind of like the yeast in sourdough.
Yeah.
Use barm from the top of a beer. So let's talk about that new mold we just got. That made these little round ones.
Yeah, so I really envy Victorian reenactors because they have baking soda and baking powder and all that. And then apparently they also have this. But you know what? I don't care. I use it anyway in my video. We found this at an Amish antique store.
Pretty good price for it too.
Yeah, about, what was it, a month and a half ago?
Yeah, back in July.
And this is a muffin pan. This, by today's standards, does not look like a muffin pan. We think this is from 1859. It's really hard to read the stamp on the metal because it's really worn down, but it says April 1859 on it. Patented April 1859, so it's definitely a Victorian piece. And this is how muffins were, even in the 1850s, 1860s. This came out of this. And I'm obsessed with this thing.
They all came out really nicely. It's nice and smooth. It's whoever made it did a really good finish job.
Man, they just don't make things like this anymore. They don't make things this good because this is the smoothest cast iron ever. I mean, it also has the advantage of being used for so many years too, so that makes it really smooth as well. Right. But I love this, and I actually really like the idea of a small muffin because it makes me feel a little bit less guilty.
You can eat more of them and not feel as bad.
Well, I don't mean it like that. You can't eat 10 of them. But I mean...
Speak for yourself.
I know you can, but you shouldn't. So like modern muffins are like this big.
Oh yeah. Well, they're full of powders.
Powders!
Yeah, baking powder.
They're full of powders. Oh, these modern people and their powders. But then this is just maybe 1/10 of a modern muffin, so I feel less guilty about it.
I do really like them.
Yeah. Yeah, these are really good. These are really good.
I mean, I'll eat these. I've ate some.
Yeah. I dare you to eat the one with nutmeg all over it.
Do you really?
I dare you!
Isn't it bad to eat that much nutmeg?
No, it's not bad. Well, if you eat a ton of nutmeg, you could die. But I mean, it's not bad for you. But if you eat a lot of nutmeg...
What if I start choking on it?
If you eat a lot of nutmeg, you could have hallucinations.
Oh, I don't turn into John Townsend?
Maybe that's why he's always in such a good mood. We need to eat more nutmeg.
Okay, here goes.
Ah!
That's a lot. Wow. That's thick.
What does it taste like? Nutmeg?
Nutmeg. That's thick.
That's thick?
That's thick.
Ron, you're going to be seeing flying pink elephants in about 30 minutes. So those of you wondering what I'm talking about, nutmeg, if you actually eat it in large quantities, is basically a psychotic drug. It's not controlled by the government at all for some reason. I think because it tastes so awful in that quantity that no one would do it anyway.
Why am I doing this then?
Because I dared you.
You all better watch this. I'm doing it for you.
Do it for you.
You should eat that whole thing of sugar.
Well, I can't eat the whole thing of sugar, but I can take a bite out of it.
Them things are hard.
Okay, so this is a sugar cone. And in the 18th centuries, well, actually the 16th plus, until maybe about the 1850s or so, cone sugar was how sugar was often transported. So when you went to the market and you bought sugar, 9 times out of 10, you would come home with something like this.
Or a bigger one.
Or a much bigger one.
They had different sizes.
Yeah, they had some that were this big. And then they had some that were just this big.
Now, if you'd like to see one of these, how these are made, please go to Candy's channel, Cabin Crafts. We just put out a video on her. She'll show you how to make your own sugar cone.
Yes.
And because a lot of people like to decorate with neat stuff like that.
Yep. Okay, I'll take one bite of the sugar. You might think.
You're really gonna do it? You're gonna break it too. We don't have sugar nippers, unfortunately.
So you're wondering, what is he talking about? It's just sugar. This thing is cement. Yeah. So what happens when you mix sugar with a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of water? That's all that's in here is just sugar and water. You leave it in a mold to dry for a couple of days, and it dries into cement. Like, you could build a house out of this thing.
Don't hurt your teeth. Don't do it. I can't watch. She's gonna break a tooth, I know it.
Well, I could treat it like a salt lick, like I'm a horse.
There he goes. It looks like the tip of a bullet.
Yeah, it does. I'm a unicorn.
Oh my gosh.
It's a lollipop. It's a lollipop that'll make you really ill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't light it. I'm serious, it's like concrete.
Yeah, that stuff's hard. So the nippers, they look like, did you explain what they look like?
Oh, no, not yet.
I was in the zone with my open.
Are you seeing things float yet?
Maybe.
Do you remember what my name is?
Jim?
No, but it starts with a J. It's my dad's name.
Who's your dad?
Jim! Okay, guys, thanks for watching this Chew Chat. It was a good one. I'm gonna go lay Ron on the bed now. Take care, guys. Until next time. Oh!
What happened?
Oh, hey, Ron!
What happened?
Oh, okay, I guess the Chew Chat ain't over. I'm just over here licking my salt lick. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, sugar nippers.
Sugar nippers.
They look like pliers, scissors.
Yeah, you need
tongs.
pliers.
Think of the old school barbecue tongs from like the 80s, where they were like a rod bent. That's what they look like, but they got cutters on the end, like wire cutters.
Right.
And they nip the sugar.
Yep. So what are sugar nippers? Sugar nips.
We'll put up a picture.
Yep. So.
As you can see in this picture here.
So back in the day, if you bought something like this, how in tarnations are you supposed to actually cut this thing apart and use it? It's concrete. He did that and it did nothing. It made this little... That's it. That's how hard it is.
It's very hard.
Yeah. So how are you supposed to actually cut this thing open back in the day? You would have had something called sugar nips. And they are... It looks like... sugar nippers.
Oh my god. Oh.
Okay. You would have something called sugar nippers. What a weird word.
Yup.
And it looks like a wrench. Well, maybe not a wrench, but it looks like...
It looks like pliers or
like
barbecue tongs or scissors.
Okay. And you would have used it and you would have cut little pieces off of it, and then you would have put it in a mortar and pestle and you would have pounded it out until it was a fine sand sugar.
Why didn't they just bag it up like they do today?
I don't understand it. I actually don't. But I don't know if it's because this is so hard that it won't mold. I don't know what, and I don't know.
Because they put oats in sacks like they do today. They put flour in sacks back then like they do today. So why did they have to do the hard way with the sugar?
I don't know. If anyone knows why they transported sugar in the absolute worst way possible, please let us know.
Like, why cones? Why not little...
why not squares?
Or little medallions where you could break them up easy.
Yeah, medallions. Why not little cubes?
Ingots, whatever you want to
At
call
least
them.
if you put it in a brick, it would make it easier to build a house out of. This is so hard to build a house out of.
You can't even stack cones.
No, you can't.
If it was square, you could stack it.
Well, you can technically, because you would put the other one upside down.
No.
But we don't have any sugar nippers here to show you because we can't afford them. They're maybe $60, $70. They're really expensive. We can't afford it. So instead, what we do is off camera. Justine sits in the corner, and she's like,
"No, we get the hammer out
until the sugar is all
It's all sticky
ground
here.
up.
Now all the mice are gonna come for this. Or the ants.
Oh,
or both.
I can take care of that. I can take care of that.
No more sugar for you. You're already wound up enough.
No more nutmeg for you.
Oh, believe me, I'm done. I don't want no more nutmeg. It's got kind of an aftertaste going on right now.
What is it? What's the aftertaste? Bitter?
It's like sawdust with something I don't even know.
Sawdust with something you don't even know.
A little bit goes a long way. Too much,
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
To anyone else out there, does nutmeg kind of taste like soap to you?
I don't taste soap, it tastes
To
like
me,
sawdust.
to me, nutmeg tastes almost soapy. But I'm more of a cinnamon person. Okay.
That's cool.
Ron is currently going through a psychotic trip, so we're gonna say bye, guys, and thank you so much for watching, and take care. Until next time, we love you all.
Thank you guys for watching.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. I forgot to say something.
Say it!
Thank you to everybody that came to the St. Genevieve encampment. This is a beautiful photo that some lovely girls from Georgia area colored of us, and we deeply appreciate their company.
Yes.
And some other people from Arkansas, I think, Kansas City area, and somebody from somewhere else. But anyways, we talked to everybody. We just forgot where you were from. Thank you very much for coming. We enjoyed talking to you, and we had a blast there. It was a good turnout, good weather, and good food.
Yep.
And just thank you guys for everything. Okay, now we can go.
Yeah, and the people that came over, if the food was done, we all sat together and we ate together. So some of the fans just coincidentally were there at the right time, and we got to eat venison pies together.
And a birthday cake. I surprised all of our reenacting friends in this area were there. So I said, hey, stick around afterwards. We're gonna do a surprise birthday thing for Justine, even though it's a week early. Just while they were there, I had to strike while the iron was hot. And that's what I did, and we had them stick around too because the girls just really adored you. So Justine had no idea. She's like, wow, they're really sticking around. They must really like me. It's like, yeah, the birthday cake's coming. Candy showed up with the cake right on time, and it was fun. It was a good time.
I had a good time. So thank you everybody for giving me a surprise birthday party. Not many people can say that they eat venison pie and they're wearing stays at their birthday party, but I was. Thanks to Ron. Thank you so much.
Oh, just wait till your birthday.
Yeah, my birthday's September 21st, so I have no idea what's gonna happen.
Anyways, we're gonna hop off here now, and thank you guys for everything.
Thank you guys.
Really appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.